Hi everybody, it's Diane from California Tea and Herbal, and yes, I feel a whole lot better today. Thanks so much for your prayers and your well wishes, and I really appreciate it after that severe fall last week. So I'm feeling really good today, and I think that what I'd like to cover is something that people have been asking about, and that's about origins of tea. And today I'm going to start with the top 10 tea producers in the entire world. Now, if I was to ask you about these, I'm guessing you might say India, China, and Japan, not necessarily in that order as the top three. Well, you might be right on a couple, but you might be surprised on the third. And so I'm going to start with a countdown from number 10 to number 1. See if you even come close. Number 10, top tea producing country in the world. Would you believe it's the home of the gauchos, the pampas? It is the home of yerba mate, the national beverage there, but it's also a huge tea producer on the world scale, and that is Argentina. And Argentina teas are known to you, and you may not even know you're drinking Argentinian tea when you drink fast food type tea or dispenser tea, because a lot of the black tea from Argentina ends up in your fast food cup. And so number 10, Argentina. Number 9 comes in as the Islamic Republic of Iran, and that's how it's listed. And everything that I read now, it's called the Islamic Republic of Iran. And actually, the tea that comes from Iran started, although they were trading with China, the tea itself was seeds from India. So a lot of the Iranian tea are Indian cultivars. So it also is not a tea that we see a whole lot of in the United States, but on a world scale, it is number 9. Okay, everybody, number 8 in the world, and probably a lot of people would have guessed this was in the top 1, 2, or 3 position, but no, it's number 8, and that is Japan. And Japan is a really unique tea growing country. Almost all the tea they produce is at the green tea oxidation level, and it's mostly steamed. So Japan is unique in that way, but also Japan uses, rather than the hand picking method that many countries use, they are into using the machines to harvest the teas. And so this will give the Japanese tea estates an almost topiary or clipped hedges look. When you see pictures of these Japanese tea estates or tea farms, you'll see how beautiful the rows are, and that's because they use the machines. Now, they're very grassy, fresh, delicate tasting teas, and also most of the matcha in the world is made from Japanese tea. Number 8, Japan. All right, well, I'm doing the filming here, so I can't always see what's on the screen. If you see some bedding on the floor behind me, it's only because I have been laying on the floor since that injury. I'm not that sloppy. I just need a place where it's nice and firm. So let's continue on, and we're at number 7. Number 7th tea producing country in the entire world, and this probably will be a surprise to some of you anyway, is Vietnam. And I've got to tell you that Vietnam puts out some really good teas, but we often don't get to taste them because their big market has been tea bag tea. And in the United States, that's what a lot of people drink, and it has been a kind of a lower grade of the Vietnamese tea that comes over here for tea bags. However, we carry a beautiful tea from Vietnam called Vietnam Vanilla, and it has some French vanilla flavor. It's just so smooth to begin with, and then the French vanilla smooths it out even further. So when you go to our website at calteas.com, you can find it under black teas. And now I think we're getting down to number 6 is next. All right, number 6, another possible surprise, and that is the country of Indonesia. And we do not have Indonesian teas. Not much loose tea are you going to see from Indonesia. Again, it's mostly used as bagged tea, but it is the 6th largest producer in the world. We're halfway through the list. Number 5. Well, what if I said that the tea from this country is brewed in a very special way by the people who live in that country, and that is, it is brewed in something called a samovar, brewed very strong, like a concentrate, and then when they serve it, the water is added. So that country is none other than Turkey. And this is most of their tea is grown near the Black Sea. And they don't, you probably won't see much Turkish tea either, because a lot of it is consumed right within Turkey. And I have just read about the import taxes they put on other nations' tea as well, which kind of precludes other teas from coming into Turkey. So number 5, Turkey. Number 4. We're already at 4. And this, I've got to say, this may be my favorite black tea in the world. Although they do produce the white and green teas quite a bit, and that's all done through processing. And if you want to know about that, also that Japanese versus Chinese teas explains about how teas are processed, and also that green means nothing more than it's at a certain stage of oxidation. So be sure and see other videos, and you'll get a lot more info. But here we are at 4, and it is Sri Lanka. It used to be known as Ceylon. And I believe there's a movie from the 50s called Elephant Walk with Elizabeth Taylor, and that was all about the tea plantations and the elephants that are still invading the tea estates. I mean, the elephants, it's, land that they can't read signs and they don't care, and it's their country too. So there are problems, as well as in India with elephants. Actually, sometimes workers dying from encounters with elephants. I've got to tell you, I love Sri Lankan tea because it's very bright and clean tasting, and that has to do with the growing conditions. It's a beautiful country. There are actually tours of many of these countries, and Sri Lanka in particular. Dilma tea, which comes out of Sri Lanka, the Dilma family, has resorts where you can stay on tea estates. So one of my favorite black teas, number 4 top tea producer in the world, Sri Lanka. All right, we're down to the top 3. And I wish I had a da-da-da-da little horn or something, but number 3. Now this, I really think, will be a surprise to many of you, because the 3rd top producer of tea in the world, and it's mostly black tea. And also it also has a very distinctive flavor, because this is a country that does feel the heat, literally. And also, here's something very interesting: is this country on this continent is the largest exporter of black tea in the world, even more than number 2 and number 1. So. Guess who? Kenya. Kenya. Oh, yes. And Kenya and Africa is a beautiful place for tea because it's very hot. It gives it a very distinctive taste. You probably won't be tasting a lot of African tea, again, other than in bags and so forth. But they are producing some really interesting teas. And of course, as we've talked about, rooibos, there in South Africa is rooibos, the only place in the world that's produced. But we're talking about tea now, and so Kenya comes in at number 3 in the world. Okay, the top 2. And I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to guess both of these, India and China, but let me let you guess which is number 1. Both of these countries have such amazing teas. But coming in second is India. And what I love about India is that the regions where the tea is grown makes such a difference in the taste of the tea that literally one of these regions has its own classification. And that's the low-lying, humid, hot region of Assam. And that is the tea known as Camellia sinensis, which all teas start with that genus and species, but its own designation is Camellia sinensis assamica, and other teas are Camellia sinensis. So Assam is so different than any other region, and tea produced there is so different than other teas that it has that special, unique classification. So the other main region of India. The two teas it's really known for are the Assam and also the Darjeeling. Now Darjeeling is produced in a much different climate, a high altitude tea, pure, beautiful kind of mountain air, and so it gives Darjeeling that beauty that makes it known as the champagne of tea. And we have a whole video on Indian tea, so be sure and look for that. Back with number one, and you already know what it is, but I've got some cool things to tell you about it. Okay, tea lovers, let's have a big round of applause and a drum roll for the number one top tea producing country in the world. Surprise, surprise, China. In fact, China actually produces about a third of all the tea in the world. So that's pretty amazing, isn't it? And also what I love about Chinese tea is the diversity. There are just so many types, forms, I guess would be a better word, of Chinese tea. Taiwan is known for its oolong, so Taiwan isn't even in this list, but China produces oolongs, white teas, green teas, black teas, you name it. China's all about tea, friends. And some of my favorite black teas, just like Sri Lankan black teas. I love Chinese black teas, but they're entirely different. They tend to be a much, how am I going to say this? I don't even know if the word bold is right, but there's almost a complexity to Chinese teas depending on what kind of black teas we're talking about. One of the teas we have, and it's called Golden Yunnan, you can find all this under black teas, is from very old or ancient tea bushes. And yet another Chinese black tea we have called China Breakfast is from young bushes. And those teas really taste very different. So you can just get so many, and I'm going to switch arms here. I'm getting a little cramp in this shoulder. So many. And again, I apologize for kind of bouncing around today on this, but so many types of tastes and teas from China. Now, the Chinese green teas are usually a roasted, pan-fired or roasted teas. They're really wonderful, and of course, then you also have some white teas from China. But China, again, number one in the world in tea production. Okay, friends, I hope you have enjoyed today's video. I hope it didn't get too long, but I think it was fun to find out where your tea is coming from. Now, I also want to mention that the United States now has begun to produce its own tea. Just in the, I'm going to say in the last decade, people have really decided, you know what, we're going to try to grow tea here. Now, there's a plantation in Charleston, South Carolina. It's now owned by Bigelow, who bought it, and they do tours and so forth. You can actually buy tea there. But it was pretty much the only tea estate in this country, and entrepreneurs started to look for places that might work for growing tea. And they range from Oregon to Hawaii, and so the states are now going to be a tea producer. But you know, it takes some years to really to get the tea to market once you planted those seeds or those small plants. So we'll be waiting a while for most of that, but it's good to know, and we're going to do a video on that in the future. So for now, thanks for your time in watching. We appreciate it. Please comment, tell us what you'd like to see, ask questions, anything below, and I'll put links, appropriate links, in the description. And please subscribe, please like, please share with your tea-loving or tea-curious friends. See you next time.